It was supposed to be a relaxing vacation, a new tradition celebrating a blended family. But when the Carnival cruise ship, the Horizon, returned to port 6 days later, one of its passengers was taken off in a body bag. The victim was a young girl with her entire life ahead of her, a daughter with plans to join the military.
The older child, who's approximately 16 years of age, is a suspect in the death of the stepchild, an 18-year-old daughter that was in the same room.
But now, not only is the FBI investigating, but every intimate detail of this family is now going public, as they say the suspect in Anna Kepner's death is one of their own. And yet, so many are wondering, if that's the case, why haven't charges been filed yet? We're on the case, presented by Law&Crime. I'm Chris Stewart. Hey guys, real quick before we get into this episode of On the Case, one of the most watched shows on YouTube, I want to talk about our partner Morgan & Morgan, America's largest personal injury law firm. They're a firm with more than 1,000 attorneys who have recovered $25 billion for more than 500,000 clients. In the past few months alone, a client in Florida received $12 million when insurance offered just $350,000. In Pennsylvania, another client was awarded $26 million. That's 40 times the insurer's offer. Morgan & Morgan makes it easy to fight for what you deserve. You can even start a claim from your phone. So if you're injured, you can start a claim at forthepeople.com/OTC. You can also scan the QR code on your screen or click the link below. There are only two people who know what really happened inside a stateroom on a 15-deck, 4,000-passenger cruise ship. One of them, according to family members, is a 16-year-old boy. The other is his 18-year-old stepsister, Anna Kepner. Anna was from Titusville, Florida, a community on the Atlantic coast along what's called the Space Coast because it's close to the Kennedy Space Center. It's about 3 hours north of Miami. The 18-year-old was set to graduate high school in the spring from Temple Christian School, where she was beloved by teachers, her friends, other students. Anna had big plans after she graduated. Her family says she had just completed the test that's required to join the military. Specifically, her family says that she wanted to join the Navy. Then one day, she planned to return home as a member of law enforcement. She wanted to be a canine officer. Now you could tell that Anna might have been a good fit for the Navy. Her social media shows she loved the water. In May of this year, she took a cruise aboard a Carnival cruise ship with her family. Here's a TikTok from that trip in the spring. Then this is another video she posted from that trip with the caption, "I want to go back." Months later, in November, her family decided it was time to hit the seas again for another cruise. 9 of her family members went aboard a Carnival cruise ship, one named the Horizon, for a 6-day cruise that would launch from the port of Miami and then hit some spots in the Caribbean before arriving back in South Florida. The 8 other people who went on the cruise ship with Anna were members of her newly expanded family, a blended family. Her dad, her stepmom, her brother, and her new step-siblings, which includes a 16-year-old boy, Anna's stepbrother. Anna's grandparents said that she and that boy, they had a real brother-sister type relationship, telling ABC News they were, quote, 2 peas in a pod. The cruise ship that the Kepners were on, it was a floating city. A massive ship. It can carry around 4,000 passengers. It has bars, restaurants, tons of stuff to do, pool decks. It sailed out of the port of Miami, then goes to multiple destinations like Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, and Cozumel, Mexico. We found online that they were advertising 6-day cruises out of Miami. We believe that that is the type of cruise that the Kepner family went on. Now, this ship had been in operation since 2018. And just take a look here. This is the blueprint that Carnival has on its website showing the layout of the boat, 15 decks in all. It seems like there was so much joy aboard that ship when it left for sea. But then, when it returned on November 8th, we saw a much different scene that has sparked a mystery that many are still trying to comprehend. This is a video of Anna's body being taken off of the ship. It was transported to the medical examiner's office in Miami-Dade County. This video was taken by WSVN TV reporter Sheldon Fox. Now, at this point, we didn't know whose body was being taken off of the Horizon. We didn't know if this was a case of perhaps an accidental death, a medical emergency, or something darker than that. We reached out to Carnival Cruise Lines in the days after that video went viral, and this is what they told us. The death of a guest traveling on the Carnival Horizon voyage that returned to Port Miami on Saturday, November 8th is being investigated by the FBI. Since this is an ongoing matter under the jurisdiction of law enforcement, it is up to the FBI's Miami Public Affairs Office to provide further details. Our focus is on supporting the family of our guest. When you hear the FBI is involved, it certainly gets your attention and makes you wonder if this is a case of someone who lost their life aboard the ship at the hands of someone else. I spoke with maritime lawyer Michael Winkleman. At the time we're recording this, the FBI hasn't released a statement. We know they're investigating. What does it tell you? We don't know if foul play is involved in this, but what does it tell you that the FBI is investigating?
Well, Chris, not much really. I mean, in any situation where you have a crime or an overboard or a death involving a U.S. citizen, the FBI is going to be involved, whether there's foul play or not. So the fact that the FBI is involved is not really surprising. They have jurisdiction over this type of a situation. So yeah, doesn't really point me in one direction or the other.
But even in that case, like for example, we do sadly see those overboard cases. I guess the way that, not even the sheriff's office for Miami, not a, I know they might have been in international waters. I mean, the FBI pretty much handles this as if it is the law enforcement agency for these types of events, whether it's an accidental situation or if it's something like foul play.
For sure, 100%. So yeah, anytime a U.S. citizen or resident has an issue, a major issue on a cruise ship, FBI is involved, but there's also going to be involved from local law enforcement, state law enforcement. So you've got a lot of entities in play. So what's going on now is the FBI certainly led the investigation. My guess is primarily completed their investigation. I have no doubt, Chris, that there's a tremendous amount of information or knowledge about what's happened that's known to the family, known to the cruise line, known to the FBI. It's just not public yet. So at this point, we're really left speculating, if not guessing, about what happened. But having done this for more than 20 years and with my law firm having done it for more than 50 years, unfortunately, this is not something that's too surprising. Is it rare? Yes. Does it happen? Do I have strong feelings about why it may have happened? Yes.
It wasn't long until social media started to speculate that Anna's death was the result of foul play. But even to this day, the FBI has yet to release any information about their investigation. They have just publicly stated that they are investigating the death of a passenger aboard the ship. Anna's family gave an interview to ABC News shortly after her death, and that initial story didn't say much about what might have happened aboard the Horizon. Her family described her to ABC News as a, quote, happy, bubbly, straight-A student with a bright future ahead. Her family said that Anna had just finished taking that test to join the military after high school. Her family said that she was in gymnastics at a young age, then went on to be a varsity cheerleader. But then information started to trickle out. According to the Miami-Dade Medical Examiner's Office, Anna's death was on the day before the ship returned to port November 7th. The ME listed her time of death as 11:17 in the morning. That's obviously a very specific time.
Well, the specificity of that time is really interesting to me. So they either have more information than what we have at this time to be able to state specifically 11:17 a.m. Normally, when we do a pronouncement of death, and especially if it's the next day that we're discovering the body or in contact with the body, we're going to give an estimation like, between 9 and 11 a.m. or between 10 and 11 a.m., whatever that time frame is, because we may not know exactly. So this tells me that either they have direct line of communication either with her phone, whoever was last known to talk to her. The timeline that led up to that 11:17 is going to be very important, and I think that's how they have this specific time.
So if that information was accurate from the medical examiner, Anna died on Friday morning just before noon, and it wasn't until about 24 hours later that the ship returned to Miami. It's unclear when her body was found and what condition it was in. Now, as we waited for more information about what might have happened to Anna, her friends were honoring her back in Titusville. They put flowers on her car at her high school, parked in her senior parking space that has since been turned into a memorial. But then a little more than a week after Anna's body was taken off of the Horizon, a bombshell. The bombshell was a new timeline that was being released by media outlets of what happened in the final days of Anna's life. Let's go to November 6th, It was the evening. Kepner reportedly wasn't feeling well, and she told her family that she was going to go back to her cabin as they were eating dinner. This was according to sources who spoke to the Daily Mail. Now, listen, it might not be uncommon for someone at the end of a long 6-day cruise to not feel well, so Kepner went back to her stateroom, according to the Daily Mail. The next morning, November 7th, Kepner's dad and wife met up for breakfast, but there was no sign of Anna Kepner. Her body was found at 11 o'clock in the morning in her cabin. A maid, according to the Daily Mail, reportedly found Anna when she entered the room to service it. And according to the Mail, which claims to have spoken to 2 anonymous sources, Kepner's body, quote, was found wrapped in a blanket, covered over with life jackets, and stuffed under a bed. As a reminder, we don't know the condition that Anna's body was found in, and the FBI has not confirmed anything about whether foul play was involved in Anna's death. What does that tell you about what the investigation looks like at this point?
Well, obviously, she's not going to wrap herself in a blanket and cover herself with life jackets. So there had to be somebody that did that. So that's really what the core of the investigation is going to focus on, is who put her in that state. If she had passed out or she had died of a drug overdose or some other issue, obviously that she would have found it, in a natural state, lying there. But the fact that she was allegedly found in this manner, tells me that there are other people that know what happened to her.
And the last time I think we spoke, one of the big pieces of information that we had from authorities was the medical examiner in Miami-Dade County said on November 7th, 11:17 in the morning, that's what her time of death was listed as. And then you have this article saying it was around 11 o'clock in the morning that the maid on that day goes into her room. Would a time of death be listed for when someone was found? If that's when the maid found her, or would that mean that there's something more there potentially?
No, and I'm kind of surprised they even released that information, but the time of death is the time of death. They're going to be able to ascertain that from the examination of the body, from blood tests, from a variety of the state of the body. I mean, the science behind identifying the time of death for a deceased is very advanced, so they can get it pretty close to what the actual time is. So when she was found and when the time of death, that there might be a discrepancy just based upon the information that's kind of flying back and forth, and nothing's been corroborated.
And how does the investigation go where if you found a body in this condition, and we don't know if foul play is involved, but they didn't get back to port until the next day? I think people were told to leave their staterooms around 7 o'clock in the morning on this deck where all of it happened, but they're back in Miami the next day after her body was allegedly found around 11 o'clock in the morning the day prior. How does this investigation play out when you have these logistics like a cruise ship that they're dealing with?
Well, the hardest part is you're going to have to freeze the crime scene so nobody goes in there and destroys evidence either intentionally or inadvertently.
According to Cruise Blog, other passengers reported hearing an alert for a medical emergency on Deck 8, and a handful of guests were notified that they would need to vacate their staterooms earlier than usual the next day when the ship returned to port. The blog also says that the ship turned around and started another cruise on the 8th and left Miami on time. It returned on November 16th. Passengers reported when they boarded the deck where Kepner was found dead, it was blocked off. Again, all of these are media reports that have yet to be confirmed by investigators. Then there was another bombshell.
The older child, who's approximately 16 years of age, is a suspect in the death of the stepchild, an 18-year-old daughter that was in the same room.
That's the moment this case went to an entirely new level, when the attorney for Chantel Kepner's ex-husband used the word suspect to describe the 16-year-old boy. Chantel Kepner is Anna's stepmom. The boy that is being talked about, that's the stepbrother of Anna Kepner, who is also on the cruise. He's a minor, so we're not naming him or showing him. If he does face charges as an adult, we'll put that information out there. Anna Kepner's stepmom, Chantel, who was on the cruise with Anna, appeared in a custody hearing involving a divorce. This happened after the cruise. This case isn't directly connected to the cruise, but we've been learning information through that custody hearing. Chantel has been going through custody proceedings with her ex-husband for more than a year, according to court records. And one of the children at the center of the custody hearing was Anna's 16-year-old stepbrother.
There is currently an FBI investigation as well with regard to the 16-year-old, and as well as there was a DCF involvement, and there's a DCF open investigation on the father in this case. The FBI has cleared my client from any wrongdoing. She's not considered a suspect in this matter at all. I would have difficulty in them putting the 16-year-old on the stand, because I don't want anything done that would incriminate the young man. Mom, immediately after the incident, he was hospitalized, and then when released from the hospital, mom and dad participated too. They signed a stipulation basically allowing him to live with mom's relative, and they're getting counseling and so forth for him.
Now, you heard the attorney for the mom, Chantel, saying the boy was taken to the hospital after the, quote, incident, and that he's in counseling. She also later said this.
December 1st at 9 a.m.
Can I speak? Timothy has a psychiatrist appointment on December 1st.
Ma'am, just a second. Hold on. I want you to be able to talk with your attorney before you speak. If she says it's okay for you to speak, okay. I'm okay with that, but I think you need to run that by her first.
Now, you can see that Chantel spoke up about a psychiatrist appointment for the boy who is the alleged suspect in this case. Anna Kepner was reportedly staying in a stateroom with that alleged suspect and her biological brother. That biological brother reportedly heard some yelling the night that Anna died inside of the stateroom, and Anna's grandparents told ABC News that Anna's stepbrother was the only other person seen entering the stateroom the night that Anna died.
You know, you have the entrances and the hallways of a particular part of that ship. So you can establish pretty well the last time she enters that room and doesn't come out. Who's in there with her? You can also go by, I think the keys are all electronic now as well. So you can now pinpoint who's actually accessing that room at what particular time. So the timeline can get established pretty well with just on the video cameras themselves. And, you know, as far as witnesses too, the parents, when's the last time they saw her? You know, she wasn't feeling well when they had dinner and she went back to the room. So there's a starting point to the last time someone might have seen her into the last time someone exited that room other than her.
ABC News then said that Anna's death was being investigated as a homicide. The outlet has said that her family told them that she died of a bar hole, someone reportedly putting their arm across her neck, strangling her to death. Now, you're looking at the death certificate for Anna Kepner. This was obtained by Fox News. It does not list her cause of death, but it says that her body has been cremated. Her memorial service was held in Titusville, Florida, east of Orlando. That is where she is from. Now, the investigation through media reports and what the family was saying publicly was becoming more clear, and yet the FBI had not made an arrest or much of a public statement.
This kid is not going anywhere, and so the FBI realizes that there's no sense of super urgency because statute of limitations is not expiring. He's not flying out of the country and escaping. They know where he is. They've got their eyes on him, and they want to make sure they've got an airtight case. The most important thing is to get it done right, not to get it done fast. And once you make the arrest, then that speedy trial clock starts ticking. So they're getting all the evidence, even though it clearly points to just one person here. And if you're going to commit a crime, if you do it on a cruise ship, you got to be really stupid, because a cruise ship may be one of the worst places because there are thousands of potential witnesses on that ship. You're in a tight, confined space. You've got surveillance cameras everywhere. You've got access cards where people know where you're going. So I think this thing is headed towards an arrest, although I can't say exactly when.
Because even the grandparents, when they spoke to ABC News, they said that surveillance video only shows one other person going into that stateroom, and it was the 16-year-old stepbrother of Anna Kepner. For as many cameras as there are on a Carnival cruise ship, there aren't cameras in the stateroom, so we don't know what the back and forth is that potentially happened that led to her death, though, according to ABC, that she died by strangulation. what type of evidence do you need as a prosecutor when you're putting together the story of what happened inside that room that you would need to make an arrest?
Well, you don't need motive to make an arrest, although jurors always want to know the why. So means, motive, opportunity are all important. But for a prosecutor, you just want the evidence that shows this is the person who did it. And unlike police, who only need probable cause to make an arrest, that's a really low burden. Prosecutors have a responsibility only to file charges when they have a good faith belief they can get a conviction beyond a reasonable doubt. So we're talking a much higher burden. So that's one reason why I think you haven't seen an arrest yet, because they just want to make sure they got the access cards. They want to know that he was the person who was entering the room late at night. There's surveillance video. They're looking for any witnesses. They were going to look for DNA and fingerprints on the body. They're going to look at everything. Also, I think that they want the cause of death. Now, there were reports that the medical examiner did rule it a homicide, and as far as the manner of death, by asphyxiation. That's also really important for prosecutors. They want to know for sure that it was a homicide, not a suicide, not an accident. And they also would like to know the manner of death, so it can only point to the person who was in the room with the victim at the time, and apparently there's only one person.
We do also want to note that even though Anna Kepner's death, the cause of it, was reportedly strangulation, the ABC News report also said there were no signs of any sort of sexual assault or drugs or alcohol in her system at the time of her death. Again, not yet confirmed by the FBI. It is unclear if this step-sibling would be charged in this case, and if so, whether he would face charges as an adult. For this 16-year-old stepbrother of Anna Kepner, and he's, it was his own family who said that he was a suspect in her death, and then you have the grandparents laying out that he was the only one to go into the room where Anna Kepner was eventually found dead. He's 16 years old. If he is charged in connection to her death, whatever that charge may be, how likely is it that he would be tried as an adult?
Very likely. The decision, since this is federal court, is up to the prosecutor to make that proposal, that it's adult court, not juvenile court, and then it's up to the judge to approve it. There's much more discretion in state court for prosecutors. The state court, if this were a state case, the prosecutor would say, okay, we're filing this in adult court. Less discretion for the judge. In federal court, the judge has more discretion. But in a case like this, where the potential defendant is 16 and there's a murder, it's almost certainly going to be in adult court, because if it's not, then the juvenile system only retains jurisdiction up to age 21. So you could prosecute him and you could have him incarcerated in a juvenile facility until 21, and then he walks free. That's not ideal in any circumstance. So he will most likely be prosecuted in adult court. He can get a blend of juvenile and adult sanctions, but adult court is very different than juvenile court. Adult court is based on punishment, whereas juvenile court is based on rehabilitation.
Now, there are questions about what Anna's relationship was like with her stepbrother. The dad of one of Anna's ex-boyfriends told Inside Edition that the stepbrother was, quote, obsessed with Anna. Quote, she was scared of him because he always carried around a big knife, the dad of her ex said. He also said that his son once saw the stepbrother go into Kepner's room during a FaceTime call and, quote, when she was sleeping and get on top of her, end quote. He also said, quote, he's like infatuated, attracted to her like crazy. He always wanted to date her, the dad said. This was all per Inside Edition. Now, the ex-boyfriend also told the media outlet that Anna was so afraid of her stepbrother that she would actually sleep at friends' houses. Now, on this cruise, Anna was reportedly sharing a stateroom with that stepbrother, but Anna's grandparents, they tell a very different story about what the relationship was between Anna and her 16-year-old stepbrother. Anna's grandparents, in their interview with ABC News, said this family was going on the cruise because it was a new tradition celebrating this blended family that had come together with Anna's dad and her stepmom getting married. They also said that Anna had a real brother-sister-like relationship with that 16-year-old stepbrother. The two were described as two peas in a pod. So let's now talk about what Anna's dad has been saying. Her biological dad is named Christopher Kepner. He gave an interview to People, and he said, I do not stand behind what my stepson has done, end quote. Now, he also said that he was not confirming or denying any knowledge about what his stepson allegedly did, according to People magazine. Kepner also said, quote, I want him to face the consequences. I will be fighting to make sure that does happen. People then asked him whether he thinks his stepson is responsible for his daughter's death, and he said, quote, I cannot say that he is responsible, but I can't decline. He was the only one that was in the room, and the FBI has an ongoing investigation in which they will have to provide the evidence to say that he did do it or did not do this, end quote. He also said he thought of his stepson as a normal kid who was close with his daughter, and he never thought something like this could happen.
At some point, did you discover that one of the children had passed away?
Yes.
What was the stepsister's name?
Anna Kepner.
New and explosive details about the final hours before Anna Kepner's death have also emerged. And again, these aren't coming from the FBI, but it came from another tense custody hearing that took place last week. On the stand at this hearing, Anna's stepmom, Chantel, was grilled about the decisions that she and her husband, Christopher Kepner, made in that ill-fated family cruise. She revealed 3 teenagers, Anna, 18 years old, the 16-year-old stepbrother, and a 14-year-old stepbrother were all placed in a single stateroom. And she admitted the 16-year-old, now a suspect, missed his critical nighttime medication twice on the trip. And she testified that no one checked on them the night that Anna died. And in a later statement, her attorney revealed something significant. Anna Kepner's stepbrother could potentially face charges. This was the first time that we heard in court that criminal charges in Anna's death are actively being considered.
At this point, we're not sure what the FBI is going to do, whether he's going to be charged federally or whether they're going to turn it over to the state.
Now, with that potential prosecution hanging in the air, Chantel was called to the stand, and she was forced to answer for the exact environment and decisions that the FBI is investigating. The questioning went straight to the cruise and the choices made there.
Did you recently go on a cruise?
Yes.
And did any of the children go with you on the cruise? Did you reach out to Mr. Hudson to request that he agree to passports for the children?
I reached out to him to inform him of my itinerary to take the children on a cruise and did ask for the passports, but they weren't needed in this cruise.
And Mr. Hudson actually refused to cooperate with obtaining passports, correct?
To sign for the passports, yes.
You said passports weren't necessary, so they weren't obtained?
Correct.
As far as the minor children, what were the sleeping arrangements on this cruise?
With my husband and his 9-year-old daughter, and then shared a room with his stepsister and stepbrother. The room was directly across from ours.
What was the stepsister's name?
Anna Kepner.
And what was the stepbrother's name? And how old is
14.
And how old was Anna?
18.
Now, who made the decision to have these 3 teenagers in one room in the cruise?
We had talked it over with our traveler agent, and that was what was suggested.
Did you have to sign any special permission for
No.
the children to reside together? So was it a mutual decision between yourself and your husband?
Correct.
And at some point, did you discover that one of the children had passed away?
Yes.
And when was that you discovered that?
Friday morning.
When was the last time that you had seen the child before that Friday morning?
Thursday night.
You know approximately what time?
Right around 6:30.
And your child, did you see him that Thursday night as well?
Yes.
What time did you see him at?
Closer to 7. Just a little bit before 7.
What was he doing at that time?
He was headed back to his room.
Do you know whether or not was present in the room as well?
They all were headed back to their room, as far as I know.
So where was their room in relation to your room?
Right across the hall. You walked out my door, their door was right in front of it.
Did you return to your room that evening?
Yes,
What time did you return to your room?
7 o'clock.
7 p.m.?
Yeah, right. It was actually closer to 7:30.
Did you stay in the room for the rest of the night?
Yes,
With the teenagers across the hall, did you ever go in and check on them?
no, I had went to sleep.
Do you know if Christopher went across the hall to check on them?
Not that I know of.
Do you know if ever left the room that night on that Thursday night?
I never seen him leave the room.
The attorney then pivoted to questions about the environment on the ship, probing what activities the teenagers might have access to, specifically alcohol and gambling. She says the underage children didn't drink because they're not old enough. But when pressed specifically about 18-year-old Anna Kepner, her answer is a firm "I don't know." Now, this leaves a question about what supervision or awareness there was of what Anna, an adult sharing a room with two minors, was doing. Listen to this.
Had you drank it all during the cruise?
I had 2 pina coladas and a blue Hawaiian earlier in the week, but it wasn't on the same day. It was like one a day.
Do you know if the children, based on being in international waters, could I drink alcohol?
No,
You don't know?
no, they didn't. They're not old enough.
What about Anna?
I don't know.
Weren't you aware that the children were gambling at some point?
Well, Anna's 18, so I know she was in there at one point in time, but the other kids were not.
You're sure that the other kids were not gambling?
I'm sure the other kids were not gambling.
Next, the questioning turned to a critical detail that goes directly to the state of the 16-year-old suspect in the hours before Anna's death, his prescribed medication. The attorney established the teen has ADHD and takes 2 medications. One's called Concerta, he takes that in the morning, and a nighttime pill for insomnia called Clonidine. Chantel testified that she held onto both medications on the cruise, but then came a major admission about the final night.
As far as does he have any diagnoses?
He has ADHD.
And how long has he been diagnosed with ADHD?
About 3 or 4 years.
Those after your separation from Mr. Hudson, correct?
About that timeline, yes.
And does he receive medication for his ADHD?
He does.
And what medication was he on for his ADHD?
Methylphenidate.
Would you pronounce that for me and spell it, Pam, if you know?
Methylphenidate, I don't know the spelling.
Okay,
The name brand's Concerta, if that
okay,
helps.
thank you.
And how often would you take that medication?
Every morning.
And did he take the medication on the cruise with him?
Yes. He also takes a nighttime pill as well.
The same medication?
No, it's clonidine.
What is that for?
Insomnia.
Did you hold on to the medications?
Yes.
Did you make sure he took his medications every day?
He took his morning pill every day, and he missed 2 doses of his clonidine at night.
You held on to the clonidine as well?
Mm-hmm.
That's yes?
Yes, sorry.
And what do you mean he missed the doses? What happened there?
He went to bed before he got it. He was already asleep.
Including that Thursday night?
No, Thursday night he didn't get it. I had fell asleep before he did.
So just to make sure I understand, ma'am, while on the cruise, he missed taking that nighttime medication twice. One of the nights was because he fell asleep prior to taking the medication, and the other night was the night before.
Correct. I fell asleep before he
You
did.
fell asleep,
Yes,
so
ma'am.
he did not get the medication the night.
Yeah, he didn't come and
before
ask
the
for it.
incident.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you.
So, according to her own testimony, the 16-year-old suspect, in her words, who had been prescribed medication for insomnia, did not receive that medication on the final night. She says she fell asleep before he did, and she didn't give him the meds. Now, this raises immediate questions for the investigation. What was the state of mind or ability to sleep that night without his medication? Could it have played any role in his actions or behaviors? At the time of this recording, no one has been arrested in connection to the death of Anna Kepner. We continue to monitor this case for updates and potential charges. That will do it for On the Case, presented by Law and Crime. Subscribe to us on YouTube and Spotify. I'm Chris Stewart. We'll see you next time.